Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, as a special for reaching 500 subscribers, I'll be answering some questions asked to me on Instagram. I'll also be working on this drawing of a bunny in a garden while answering the questions too. So Natalie_Natranode asks, how long have you been doing art for? I've been doing art almost my whole life. I started drawing when I was around 3 or 4 years old, and since then I've tried out different styles and finally settled on realism. The next question is from Nuki Draws, and they ask, what different mediums do you use? My favorite medium to use is colored pencils, but I will sometimes use acrylic paint markers for highlights, and I'll also use pan pastels or markers for the background. In the future though, I'm hoping to experiment with acrylic paints, oil paints, and watercolor paints, but for now I'm just sticking with colored pencil. The Artsy Tiger asks, do you prefer using graphite or colored pencils? I prefer using colored pencils because I love to have more colors and vibrancy in my work. I also feel more comfortable with techniques using colored pencils. In my opinion, it's harder to correct a mistake done with graphite pencils, and so that's why I like colored pencils more. Demi asks, what's your favorite animal to draw? My favorite animal to draw would definitely be anything super colorful. So I like to draw a lot of birds, and I also like to draw sea turtles since they have a lot of bright oranges and blues in their shells and fins. Birds would probably have to be my all-time favorite though because of all of their different colors and wing patterns. So next question is by Art by Winnie. She asks, why did you first start drawing? Honestly, I can't even remember why I first started drawing because I was so young, but I can tell you why I started drawing realism. So I was searching through Instagram and I came across this cupcake drawing by an artist who was a similar age as me, and this cupcake drawing was so amazing and I was so inspired to do something similar. So I decided to search online and find a similar reference photo, and that's when I did my first realistic drawing, and it's still on my Instagram account, Diamond Draws. And since then, I've decided to go full on with realism, and so that's what I do now. So my next question is from Fernando, and he asks, what new materials would you like to try? So I already mentioned earlier that I'd love to try out different painting, so oil paints, acrylics, and watercolors, but mainly I'd like to try oils just because I see some of the work on Instagram done with oil painting, and it's so incredible, and I'd just like to try that myself. So my next question is from Sarah Sweeney XX, and she asks, what are your favorite color pencils, and are Caran d'Ache Luminance worth the price? So my three favorite color pencils are Prismacolor Premiers, Caran d'Ache Luminance, and Faber-Castell Polychromos. I find that with Faber-Castells, it's easier to do details since they have a harder lead, so I prefer to use them for hairs and fur. But I like to use the Prismacolors and Caran d'Ache for things like blended areas, so skin and other areas that need to be really smooth. In my opinion, Caran d'Ache are worth the price since they are super pigmented and they are probably one of the best colored pencils I've ever used. I would only recommend them though for artists who are super serious about their art and who know that they like colored pencils. I wouldn't recommend them as a first time try, and I would definitely recommend to buy like maybe 5 to make sure that you're comfortable with using them and that they work for you in your technique. So Drawings by Malik asks, what is your biggest inspiration and how do you find ideas? I'm very inspired by the world around me. Like, for example, it's coming up to Easter, so I decided to draw a bunny in a garden. And I'm also really inspired by different accounts on Instagram and various artists. I like to get inspiration from a lot of different sources. That way I'm not really ever feeling uninspired to draw. I look for ideas about what to draw by searching for different art accounts on Instagram, also sometimes makeup accounts or photography accounts. I like to really just search around social media and look for other artists and how they are creating things. Happy Drawings asks, how do you balance your time between art and schoolwork? So what I do is that if I'm assigned a lot of schoolwork that's due at the end of the week on Monday, for example, I'll spend all of Monday night trying to finish all of the schoolwork so that I have kind of the rest of the week off, and so I can draw or spend time with friends, do whatever I want. Also, if I'm ever going through like a phase where I'm not really feeling motivated or inspired to draw, I'll spend that time doing schoolwork instead. So that's the last question I can fit in this video. Thank you everyone for watching and everyone on Instagram for asking me questions. If you want me to do another one of these Q&As and answer more questions, please comment and like this video. See you next week!